I want to wish everyone a good afternoon in East Coast, a good morning on the Central and in the West Coast time zones. To those on the West Coast dealing with the aftermath of the fires, we just, our hearts break for you and for the communities. In terms of today, we are pre-recording because we have an incredible guest. It's a guest that we've had the blessing of having over the course of the year a number of times. And that is Brigadier General Nitzan Nuriel. And first and foremost, we can't thank the General for taking time out of his schedule to address us. The General, as many of you know, who've heard and watched Brigadier General Nitzan Nuriel, he played a major role the last couple of decades of his life, and that is that he oversaw the coordination between American forces and Israeli forces. America is obviously has a central command. Many of you have heard the name General Michael Kurilla, really one of the great generals in the United States, a great friend and partner to Israel. And the one that coordinated with General Kurilla and General Kurilla's team, whether that's intelligence, the Air Force, the Navy, whether that's the ground forces, and many other divisions, is General Nitzan Nuriel. General Nuriel was part of creating three fascinating phenomena. And those phenomena that have been used and employed for many decades were put into action over the course of this past year. One is called JF, one is called JC, and the other is called JO. Juniper Falcon, Juniper Cobra, those are defensive, jointly coordinated actions between Israel and America in the event of a massive attack on Israel by Iran and its multiple proxies. And then Juniper Oak, which is an offensive strike. And these kind of preparations, these coordinations, literally are years and years, have multiple layers. And we can't thank General Nuriel for his role in overseeing this and working with the Americans, the incredible respect that the American Army has for General Nuriel, and the role that General Nuriel has played representing Israel, representing the IDF to its partners, to its best friend, America, as well as the coalition forces. General Nuriel, before we get into many, many topics that you'll be discussing, that we have questions for you, just want to ask a question. Your olive oil, it's world-class olive oil. And we've had the honor of partaking of it, of experiencing it. Just a quick question. How's the crop this year for you?
Thank you, sir. I have something like 40 trees in my backyard. And last year, because of the war, I missed the season. I couldn't pick the fruit and couldn't create olive oil. So it was a lost year for many Israelis, as well as for my trees. This year I had luck. We have enough fruit, and I had some time with my family, and we picked the fruit and create some olive oil. So at least this year, it was like a normal year, and I hope that that will be the case for the next few years.
Yeah. The olive grove was one of the many casualties of the war last year.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
General, there are many fronts: Lebanon, Syria, what's happening in Gaza, the ongoing negotiations, the potential for the release of the captives, of our captives, as well as what Gaza would look like in the aftermath. The tragedies of the last couple of weeks, where we've lost over 15 soldiers in Beit Hanun. There's so much to talk about. We want to really give it over to you and learn from you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start walking around all those fronts. I keep saying that we are fighting at 9 fronts at the same time. Let's start with Lebanon. The agreement still on the table. The Lebanese military forces are taking their position slowly. It is going well, but not fast enough. So maybe we will need to stay in some points in Lebanon more than the 60 days we have. It's still on the table, and it's too soon to say if Hezbollah is going to accept it or going to challenge the agreement. At the same time, in Lebanon, there is a new president. Good messages, but it's not mature enough to say what will be the outcome of the new president, as well as all the Lebanese military forces' actions on the ground in order to force the agreement. This is Lebanon. Syria, yes, there is a new leader. It seems to us that Iran lost something very important for them, and yet in Syria is the same as in Lebanon. Too sad to say, Julani is not controlling all Syria. He has some resistance by the Kurds, by the Alawites. We see Turkey are trying to increase their influence. If I can mark one bad scenario, is that Syria will become the next hub for Hamas. We need to understand that the common language between Julani and Hamas is much larger than the language he has with us or with others. So maybe Hamas will consider Syria as the next hub, which will create new type of problems for us from that area as well. Regarding Iraq, surprisingly enough, this is, let's say, the good news at that stage. The Iraqi players took a decision that they don't want to be part of the conflict with us anymore. So they stopped launching rockets and drones, and they said to the Iranians, don't take us under your considerations. We are not going to be part of the fire belt as it used to be a few months ago. Regarding the Houthis, they are in the same place, even though they are under direct attack from the coalition forces, from us. They keep launching rockets and drones. Every few days, millions of Israelis has to run to their shelters during the night because the Houthis' actions. I'm not so sure that Israel can solve it by itself. We have to understand that the list of states that paid very high price because of the Houthis' policy is much longer than Israel. Egypt, as an example, they lost a lot of money because of the blockade on the Red Sea that influenced the Suez Canal. So without dramatic international effort to force the Houthis to change their policy, I cannot see any dramatic change in the next future. Regarding Iran, they have three main dilemmas. Number one, are we going to recover Hezbollah? Can we do it? Can we have enough money? Can we find different way to support Hezbollah if Syria is out of the game? A big question mark. Number two, after the last Israeli attack, we lost large amount of our air defense systems. What does it mean? Are we going to respond to the Israeli attack and be, in a way, under a huge threat by the Israelis? Another question mark. And last and not least, what are the alternatives we have? We believe that Iran is about to consider Jordan as the next Lebanon, and we can see some steps. Obviously, it's something that we cannot accept, and we need to build up solutions and tools in order to make sure that Jordan will not be the next Lebanon, so Iran will control the longest Israeli border. In Gaza Strip, the deal is on the table. Obviously, there are many risks, but also a great opportunity to release the hostages. It's too soon to say. I believe that we will see the first stage successfully goes well, but I'm very much concerned if we be able to move into the second stage. Too many obstacles, too many problems, and again, like many other things in the Middle East at that stage, too soon to say. Regarding Judah and Samaria, the head of the Israeli security agencies launched a national warning a few days ago that the overall situation is very problematic, and we are very close to launch large military operation in order to keep destroying Hamas capabilities, keep capture a lot of ammunition that exists in Judah and Samaria. So from that perspective, the problem are ahead of us. The borderline between Jordan and Israel, very active, a lot of smuggling activities. We took a few decisions regarding the troops along the borderline, and yet, again, too soon to say what will be the overall outcome from the Iranian overall efforts to control Jordan. If I can summarize it, I will say two main top points. Number one, there are three, in a way, new people in the picture that by the next few weeks, we will have better understanding what do they want to do and how they are going to implement their policies. Number one is the new president of Lebanon. Number two is Julani, the new leader of Syria. And number three, obviously, the new president of the United States, Trump. All those three players will add a lot of new vectors into what's going in the Middle East. And I hope that all of them will be good for the state of Israel. And anyway, we need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, and this is my second point, is that the ceasefire in Lebanon will collapse. The deal in Gaza will not become through, and Judah and Samaria will become a place which we need to launch a large military campaign. In that case, we will find ourselves again fighting, literally fighting in three main fronts when our reservist units are a bit tired, and active duty military, the IDF, is not big enough to take care of all those fronts at the same time. So I believe that the next few weeks will give us more information, knowledge, and understanding what is all about in our neighborhood, and we shall see. In between, we need to stay strong. We need to be prepared, and good friends like you, and this is a good combination to keep the state of Israel safe as much as we can.
General Nuriel, could you elaborate some of the challenges in terms of weapons, Iranian weapons, other weapons coming across the Jordanian border into Judea and Samaria? What are some of the challenges in Judea and Samaria? Could you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Judah and Samaria, full of small arm ammunition, pistols, hand grenade, rifles. Everything behind that can change the picture. Anti-tank missiles, RPG, mortars, explosive drones. And we saw some of those deliveries already try to penetrate the borderline. We had luck, good cooperation and coordination with the Jordanian military forces and security forces, so we capture it. But any type of ammunition that will be behind those small arms capabilities they have today can change the picture and increase dramatically the range of threat toward the Israeli villages. I can take my place as an example. I'm living less than 2 kilometers from the city of Jenin. If they have anti-tank missiles, some of our neighborhood will be under direct threat. If they have mortars, all the village will be under direct threat. So any type of advanced ammunition that will find his way from Iran through Jordan to Judah and Samaria can create a new type of challenges for all of us.
And we're seeing this in Jenin, we're seeing this in Shechem, we're seeing this in Hebron. This is across the board in Judea and Samaria.
Yes, indeed.
If you could comment about what's happening in Beit Hanun, in terms of there's been a massive loss of life of soldiers over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Yesterday I've been there as part of my reserve duty missions. Beit Hanun, located very close to the borderline. And the main threat coming from Beit Hanun is mainly by anti-tank missiles that can directly shut down the railway, the train, from Tel Aviv to Sderot. And this is something that a normal state cannot accept. We put a lot of effort to protect the train, and it's not enough. So the mission the troop has there is to minimize the potential threat coming from this area through the state of Israel during the period which we may withdraw from this area, during an agreement or in any other scenarios. The troops are actually fighting under the ground against some small amount of Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists that are still there. And by the way, they succeed to recruit almost every day new fighters, mainly by the age of 14 or 15, very young people that are willing to take the risks for some money and to keep fighting with us. So one dimension is the underground fighting, which is complicated whatsoever. The second thing is, because we fought there a few months ago, and they knew that we will come again, they booby-trapped a lot of houses, they booby-trapped the roads. Therefore, everything goes very slow. And like in any friction, there are debris and there are casualties. Some of them are because we didn't monitor the booby trap early enough, and some of them is because some technical failure in one of the explosive devices which we carry with us in order to open and clear the streets. The number of casualties is very high, especially when it comes from one unit. But those are the prices we are paying in order to try to build long range of safety and security to the state of Israel.
So the hundreds of IEDs, the hundreds of booby-trap bombs, throughout Beit Hanun, a lot of that you can't even see because it's planted in the midst of rubble. Is Beit Hanun unique, or would you say there are other communities that Hamas has set up IEDs and other forms of bombs, etc.? In other words, I guess what I'm saying is the problems that we're having now in Beit Hanun, is that unique to Beit Hanun, or not, or that could be, we could see that in other communities as well in Gaza?
We already saw it also in Rafah, in some neighborhoods, also in Jabalia, in some places. It's not a new method, but this is kind of a method that Hamas took the advantage of the kind of ceasefire that we created when we withdraw from areas. They arrange and prepare those areas for the next time. One of the tools is all those IED and booby traps. In some other places, they put a lot of cameras so they will be able to monitor our troops. And like in any other competition, there are new threats. You have to develop new concept. and it's ongoing fighting, but I'm sure that we will win. So we probably pay price, but we will win, and we will not let them recover and be able to threaten the state of Israel for the next decades.
It's so they steal the aid, they steal the food, the medical aid, etc. They use that to acquire wealth, and then they hire these 14, 15-year-old kids to go basically serve as guinea pigs and sacrifice their life against the Israeli soldiers.
Yes, and therefore the question who is going to control that area, meaning Gaza Strip, become very crucial. As long as there are no effective alternatives, the residents of Gaza will be afraid from Hamas, will be dependent on Hamas, and that will stay the main source of power. They control the population, and they can gain everything they need from the population, from new fighters up to human shields, as they do all over Gaza Strip. Therefore, the question of who is going to run that piece of land, who is going to be the alternative to the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, is not only a political question, it's a practical question regarding what are the right things to do. And at that stage, I believe that we are all waiting to see what will be the policy of the US elected president. And maybe we will find new mechanism by the Saudis, by the Emirates, maybe by the Egyptian, to take over Gaza for a few months. So there is a chance to shape that area differently than it was in the last few years.
Your concern regarding the viability of Jordan, as you've said a number of times when we've had the blessing of having you, we've been honored to have you address this, is that King Abdullah is facing a very, very serious threat with Iran paying people to try to overthrow the regime, overthrow his leadership in Jordan. Could you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can say three major things that will create a clear picture. Number one, King Abdullah took a decision to let the Muslim Brotherhood to be part of the political arena in Jordan, and they gained power. We know that the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas is part of them. In Egypt, they are illegal. They grab some power. They are part of the parliament, and they are, in a way, challenge the king regarding his ability to control Jordan. So this is number one. Number two, the Iranian believe that they have everything needed in order to shape Jordan to be part of their proxies. So they actually buy money Bedouin tribes, mostly close to the border between Iraq and Jordan, and convert them to become a Shiite tribe. So they start getting some religious loyalty to the Shiite, let's say, views regarding the Muslim world. Number three, the economical situation in Jordan is very, very problematic. Israel tried to support the Jordanian economy by providing water, natural gas, used the port of Haifa as a kind of alternative to the port of Aqaba because of the blockade in the Red Sea. But from many aspects, it's not enough. So all those three elements, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Iranians, and the economical situation are creating the, in a way, preconditions to shake Jordan. So Jordan will become a threat to the state of Israel instead of a keystone in the stability because of the peace treaty.
Going to the south to the Houthis, my understanding is it's not like there's an enclave. It's not like there are very clear specific targets. They're all over the place. They're hard to identify in terms of their rocket launchers, in terms of other issues. Can you share with us any potential positive move of if the coalition had the will, meaning if you had an administration that was sick and tired of them destroying all of international trade, blocking shipping of 20% of the world's goods, is there a way that they could be, so to speak, defeated or at least greatly diminished? Is there a path, a way militarily of doing that? Or would the response have to be that when the Houthis shoot at Israel or shoot at ships going through the Red Sea or going through the Straits of Yemen, you'd have to attack Iran, because Iran is the one who's funding them. Iran is the one who's telling them what to do. I mean, how strategically or tactically could they be stopped?
The case of the Houthis present lack of understanding all over the globe regarding the issue of Yemen in large. Yemen used to be kind of a forgotten backyard, very, very poor state, probably by the largest humanitarian disaster all over the globe, more than any other places, and yet the world did not take any dramatic action in order to change it. In order to change the overall situation in Yemen, not only by the Houthis, is to see who can take over that piece of land and those people. Because the Houthis are very bad. The Yemen government is bad from different perspectives, but they are also very bad. And because of the world did not really invest in order to study what are the center of gravity, what are the main targets, and all the intelligence agencies did not really invest in order to build up the file of Yemen, the Houthis and the others. When you need to take care of them, you have very, very small portion of intelligence. Many agencies working now very hard in order to, let's say, bridge that gap. The Israeli intelligence, CENTCOM, the British, and others. And it will take few more, I believe, few more months when we will have better intelligence picture, which will be able to create by different policy much effective way to take the Houthis out of the game. There is no other way to deal with the Houthis beside kill them. Kill their leaders, take their capabilities, make sure they are not be able to control that piece of land, but at the same time, make sure that the Yemen government in Aden will be able to control everything and try to build Yemen to become a normal and stable state.
The Yemen government, their closest relationships with Saudi Arabia?
They have a relationship with the Emirates, with Saudi Arabia, and yet they are very weak. It's very corrupted state. The clash between the Houthis and the government in Aden is based on power, based on responsibilities, based on who will have more power, and so far and so on. So it's a local clash among the Yemens themselves, between the Houthis and the others. And for many years, the world did not want interrupt. They said, this is a local, this is among the Yemens themselves. They have to solve it by themselves. And the Houthis become very, very strong because of the Iranians. And the rest of it is history, because we are all paying the price because of that.
event that there is a deal. Again, we're recording this a couple of days early because of the opportunity to have the general on. What are some of the fears? Let's assume that we can get some of the hostages out. These terrorists, where do they go? Do they go to Turkey? Do they go to Gaza? Where exactly do these terrorists go that we're letting out of the prisons?
The concept of the deal are behind us. The details are in front of us. One of your questions, who is going to be released? It's not really solved yet. We didn't provide any list. We provide principles. We didn't provide specific names because we are waiting for list of names. So it's kind of a moment which you ask yourself, who is going to blink first? Yes, the heavy terrorists will be released either to Turkey or to some Gulf states. We had few conversations with Gulf states that will be not happy, but they will be ready to accept few. For sure, we will not release them to Judah and Samaria. And we need to consider if it's a good idea to release them to Gaza Strip. We remember what happened with Sinwar. So we don't want to repeat that mistake. But it's still kind of an open issue.
It's never easy.
No, not at all.
It's never simple. But we thank you for giving us clarity. We thank you for laying out the parameters and what the challenges are and what the opportunities are. And we want to wish you and your family, not only your physical family, but your orchards as well. Want to wish you a very, very meaningful year, and thank you. We thank you for being a guide to us, for enlightening us, and for educating us.
Thank you very much. And allow me to say that, like always, I salute you for everything you are doing for the state of Israel. It's very important. I meet the units. I know how much the soldiers are happy to know that the FIDF is behind them. Well done, and stay safe.
Thank you, General. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.